Thank you for joining us today. If you wouldn't mind, can you go through and tell us what your current career path is and how you got started on it?
Sure. So currently, right now, I do marketing at a company called Our Daily Bread, CACFP, and so basically, we help like daycare homes and centers get reimbursed for meals that they serve children, and I just made basically do just the marketing part of it. And so I get to do all like the fun stuff on like social media and run ads and do videos and stuff. And so that's what I'm currently doing. How I currently got there, how I got there was is actually from my mother and my father. They started the company like 26, 27 years ago, somewhere around there. And so since they started it, I kind of grew up in it, and I started from cleaning the floors and wiping windows to what I do now. So that's kind of how I did that. But I also do marketing on the side for myself, for other people, other companies. And I also am into like currency trading too. And so I kind of do all three of those things.
Did you have
So
to go to school to be in that field? Was there a specific major that you went for?
actually, no. There was one thing, because I was going to go that route. I was going to go with school, but then I realized with marketing, in like, well, trading's kind of your own thing, but with marketing, with social media and stuff like that, I noticed that it was kind of different from kind of what school teaches. It's more like the business side of marketing and it's different kinds of things. And so I actually just learned from people who are already doing it, and they were doing it for other businesses and companies. So I just got courses from them and learned from there.
Did you have one person who was really influential in that?
Yeah, I had a couple people. One person I learned from is a guy named Dan Henry. He's like in Florida. He's like he's really known for it. He does more coaching now. And there's a guy named Jimmy Rukowski. I learned from him, and those are both people who did it for a living. And so I learned, yeah, basically from them.
So, with you creating social media, do you do like entire profiles? Is it from the ground up? Or do you just do specific aspects of it?
It's evolved. So before it was just doing like paid advertising, because a lot of people don't know you can like on social media you can like do paid ads to get in front of people. And so I specialize in that, but I've moved to if people need a profile done, I can do a profile, or even I've gone to most people's websites. I do that and kind of manage websites. And so anything really related to a company wanting to brand themselves online, I've been able to just learn to do and just apply it for them.
Outstanding. And is that what you wanted to become when you were a child? Did you think you were going to want to do something with electronics, or what was your goal as a child?
Actually, as a child, I wanted to do football. I thought about football because it's kind of the popular thing with school. Um, but ultimately, like when it came down to it, like when it comes to my downtime and things that I wanted to do to kind of relax and do things that were fun, I ended up doing things like electronics, like messing with computers or of course, like video games and stuff. But um, I liked electronics naturally, but I think at first it was football, but it was mainly for popularity reasons, not because it's actually what I loved to do. Yeah.
And what do you feel has been your greatest adversity that you faced in your life?
My greatest adversity. It was when I was playing sports. Halfway through high school, I actually got really, really sick. It ended up being I had junior rheumatoid arthritis, is what it was, and it took my whole football career to a complete halt instantly. I went from being okay one day to absolutely not okay. Had like fevers, and I became very weak, became anemic actually in a matter of like 3 months. And it got to the point where literally my dad would have to carry me places in around the house because I couldn't move. I couldn't feed myself. My mom fed me because I couldn't hold a fork. I couldn't do anything. And so that was a complete halt for me in that. And so my that was definitely my biggest adversity for sure was having a plan and having to completely pivot from it. And yeah, things happen for a reason, and God's plans the all the ultimate plan. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, how did you find out that you had that?
Well, it was a long process because at first it started out with just fevers every single day. And then it turned into having a red rash that just showed up my arm, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, show up in different places. And then it turned to my whole body just aching and hurting. And to each day it just hurt more and more and more, and to the point I couldn't move anymore. Like literally, if I went to the bathroom and I moved too fast, I would throw up from the amount of pain I was in. And so it was like that. But yeah, it was a matter of like 4 or 5 months, and then I've gone to multiple doctors. Went to every doctor in we could think of in Knoxville. Then we ended up going to Nashville, and then from there, we met someone that they checked me out, and they were like, "He has this," and then from there, he knew exactly what to do.
Is that something that you have to be on medications for the rest of your life? Because I'd actually never heard of that before this. So,
Oh yeah. So yeah, I take and before I had to take like steroids. I don't anymore. It was a temporary thing. But I do now. I take something called Timra. I give myself a shot like once a week in like my arm, my leg, or something. And so it's one of those things where after a little while I won't have to, because before I had that flare up. I was on it for probably about 3 4 years. Then I came off of it completely, and then 5 years later, so in 2018, I had another episode, but it happened like everything that happened in a matter of like 4 or 5 months happened in like 24 hours in
wow.
2018. And so, yeah, it was just, and so now it's like it's called adult Still's disease. It's basically like arthritis, but it happens really, really, really fast. And so I'm back on it now, and so I'm not sure how long I'll be on it, but I'll probably be on it another couple years or so. But yeah.
With all of that, did you have someone who was a really big influence in your youth to help you get through all of this?
Yeah, honestly, it was my family pretty much. My mom, my dad. I was fortunate to have both of them, and of course they were super supportive for me. They were, take any time off they needed to take care of me, and of course my brother, because I know my brother was in college before, but he would come down to see me at any time he could, any and every time he could, and he's always helped me and help me when I need it. And so I would say definitely my parents and my brother for sure.
And do you think that you still have the same people as the biggest influence in your life now, or has that changed?
No, I think this is still the same. Not only just for that, but especially like in my parents, I see like through all the hard work that they went through, because they started with absolutely nothing. For them, if they went and got McDonald's, they would get mad at each other. They'd be like, "Are you crazy for getting McDonald's? You think we're eating fancy?" But I say definitely them, just for the just showing like through hard work and going after your dreams, whatever that is, no matter how long it takes, that it can definitely happen.
I know I'm gonna get a little personal on this. Would you mind? I know this is kind of getting into the backstory, but would you mind kind of giving the backstory of how that business got started?
Sure. Let me see if I can remember. So I know my dad. He worked for, I believe it's Coke. He worked for Coke, and he drove the truck around, and he did that. And then my mom, um, she tried to work at like Burger King, and she said she lasted like maybe like a week, and she knew like I can't do it. I can't do it. And so she was there, and then she ended up starting her own daycare. She had a daycare. She had, of course, me and my brother there, and she would have a few other kids there. And so from that, um, of course, with having a daycare, you get inspected. You get inspected for make sure your food's right temperature and all kinds of things like that. And so someone came in and they did like a half sweep on things. And they didn't check everything, and that bothered her a lot because she's like, "I'm taking care of kids here. Like, they need to make sure I'm doing it right." And so it gave her the inspiration to be like, "I'm gonna start my own, and we're gonna do things the right way." And so that's how it started. And then a few years later, my dad actually ended up taking the plunge. My mom's like, okay, it's actually starting to become something I need help. So he took the plunge and he quit his job that was very good and stable, very stable back then. And they took from there. They kept growing and kept doing things the right way. And so here we are 20 something years later. And it's doing super, super well.
How many different businesses do you guys service now?
Let's see. We serve it's somewhere between like 600, I'd say it's 600 and 700 child care homes and centers, somewhere around there. We
Wow,
serve it in the state of Tennessee, all of Tennessee, and now we serve Kentucky as well. So we're now in 2 states.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you guys provide different trainings as well that go along with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. That we provide, of course, with COVID stuff. We used to do like a lot of personal trainings throughout the year, but now we're doing a lot of like online trainings, and so we have online trainings. We're starting to ramp those back up, but yeah, we do quite a bit of those throughout the year because providers have to have a certain amount of training hours each year, and so we started doing that, and so yeah, we have plenty of trainings we do.
That's awesome. Do you feel that you had any achievements that you doubted you had the ability to accomplish, or any major setbacks that you were just thinking you wouldn't be able to overcome?
Yeah, yeah, mainly with like marketing. Starting out with marketing, it was a risk for me because it was my own thing I wanted to do just to make some side money and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. And my setback was I worked with somebody once. It was actually I think it was actually the first guy I tried to work with, and he wanted to do paid ads, and I was so excited. I set everything up, and just I've had a feeling like, okay, yeah, he wants to work with me. Yes, this is working. And then it was time for me to deliver, and I couldn't deliver. It couldn't give me any results, and so I was like, oh my goodness. And so of course he felt he felt gypped, whatever, and I did what I could to justify everything. And so I felt real bad, real down, and I in that moment was like, I'm not sure if I want to do this, but that was probably one of the most important lessons that I had to learn was that is failure will happen no matter what in some kind of capacity. Like, you will fail, and failure is not a bad thing. It's just a indicator showing that how you can improve to become successful. But basically, just teach a lesson that makes sure that you don't do things again. And I've had a couple of those. I worked for somebody, things didn't work out. Um, but ultimately now, like, once I've had those lessons, I've had more successes than failures, and that's the main thing. And so yeah.
I always tell my students that mistakes are just proof that you're learning. So I like that
Yeah.
you're able to kind of tie that in, because a lot of times you have those setbacks and you just feel like you can't overcome that. So with this job, do you feel that there have been any major events or major places that you've been able to visit that this job has kind of opened doors to?
With our daily bread, I've been able to visit like San Diego. San Diego is really awesome. And even like through like marketing and stuff, I've been able to go to Nashville and go to like not just Nashville, but like a national event where like all the big marketers of the world are. And so it was pretty amazing just being in a room full of people who are like-minded and like the same thing you do, like with like marketing, and you get to kind of see how they work and be inspired by them. And so, but yeah, I've definitely been able to travel different places, and it's been awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Has there been anyone really inspirational that you've met through these conferences and stuff that really stood out to you?
I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. I just remember him because he spoke, but he was super inspirational just in igniting this fire and helped me understand that even though you're going to have setbacks, like we kind of talked about, and even though like failures are going to happen, failures required, and he really pushed that and push that into all of us that were there. That failure is going to happen; it's required, and it's not a bad thing, and you can correct it. And so, yeah, I can't remember his name. Some people are just they'll inspire you. You only see him for a moment, but
Absolutely.
you're like I needed that. Yeah,
Yes. And sometimes when you feel like things are too hard to overcome, having that one person just kind of reignite that, it makes all the difference. All right.
yeah.
So for our last question, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated, I have a dream that my four little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Do you feel that in 2022 America that this has been accomplished? Why or why not?
Good question. Uh, I think it has for the most part. Um, definitely with me, I have two kiddos, and so like for me, I think of them, and I think it definitely has because I feel like even with me, I have equal opportunity as everyone else, especially if you go to big cities, Atlanta, you know, Miami, Florida, or California, wherever. You really get to see which I highly advise traveling because you really get to see how like all races are acknowledged and are equal. And so could you see, of course, you see black mayors. We had a black president. We have all these roles that are being led uh, by black people, and it's amazing. And so I know for me, I'd want my kids and anyone else to know that like the color of your skin doesn't matter. It that you can go for anything you want. But I think it's definitely coming to fruition for sure.
Awesome.
Miss
Well,
J
thank
Story Faves. Miss J Story Faves.
Miss J Story Face.
Subscribe now.
And like.